I have to go back to what my VP said to me about, if you've sold the most decks in a year, that you failed. And it completely just changed everything that I had done to that point. It was always all about my number. And then in one line, he just completely turned that upside down. That was a huge moment for sure.
Welcome back to another episode of Stocked and Delivered. Today we have Marshall Sampietro, a regional sales manager of Master Halco. And for those of you who probably know, Master Halco has been an ever-growing organization. Started out in the railing and fencing space, and since then has grown pretty tremendously, both in SKU and in location. And so I think Marshall's going to have a whole bunch of fun topics for us today. Marshall, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. I think how you doing, Mikey?
I'm doing well.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
Mikey's doing good too.
It's good to be back in the seat here.
I totally agree. So Marshall, I think just to get us going, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do over at Master Halco?
Yeah, sure. So I've been with Master for going on 7 years now. Moved up through all the positions. So started as just an ISA, taking orders, answering the phone, and doing what you can to help people every day. But moved all the way up to regional sales manager now, and it's been quite the journey to get here and grow.
So Marshall oversees, I think, District 10. Is that right? District 10?
Yeah, for us it's District 10, which it's always people are like, oh, so you cover New England, and it's bigger. It's basically Maine to Cleveland, and actually a small part of West Virginia as well. Six total locations that service the region.
Tell us a little bit more about Master Halco.
Yeah, so Master Halco been in business for a really long time. We're actually the nation's leader in manufacturing and distribution of fence material across the country. We have over 70 locations. We touch every single state. We'll pretty much put material wherever you need it, whenever you need it. And we've grown into the decking and railing space and into that industry specifically over the last, say, 5-6 years. It's been something that we focused on as a company. And we've grown either through just our people, our product offering, some innovation on some cool products, but really just kind of creating that footprint across the country as to try to match what we do on the fence side, but in the decking and railing industry.
So who's the typical customer? Who walks in the door every day? What's their profile look like?
We specifically tailor to contractors across the country. We don't sell to homeowners. We actually will. It's very curtailed to just getting to the contractor and helping them, do what they do every day and be successful.
Great.
And Marshall, if you can just kind of talk to us, there's been a number of companies that I've seen run the Master Halco model, which is fencing and railing. And it seems as if your guys are taking a customer base that is in proximity to the decking and outdoor living space and really trying to attack that recently. Can you walk us through kind of what drove that decision and how it's been going?
It was interesting. So when you have this large base of just contractors focused on installing fence and taking care of that part, I mean, we found out just through talking to our customers and building those relationships that they're in the backyard, and for them to move from one opportunity to the next and not grab all the opportunity in that space, when they're putting up a fence and digging holes to put up fence, and they're shoulder to shoulder with the other contractor who's digging holes, putting in footings for the deck, it became kind of a pretty clear avenue for us to grow as a company, capture a little bit more market share, but also to bring the kind of the specific expertise that we brought to the fence contractor. You're not going to go to many places at all and find the selection of material, the quality of material that we offer to our fence contractors anywhere else. And so we're specifically bringing that to the decking side as well.
So just to follow up on that, was that a District 10 strategy, or that was a company strategy? And when did that begin to start to go into the decking and the other side of the business?
Yeah, so it's been about 5 years. It's a company strategy. Our senior VP is tasked with growing the company, right? Every year, it's all about growth. And when we're the biggest out there on the fence side, and so the more you become an expert at what you do, there's only so many avenues. There's only so many products and so many customers that you can kind of get in front of and grow that way. And so we're years ago, about 5 years ago, we were looking for some other avenues of growth, and they've identified that the decking and railing market is just as big, if not even a little bit bigger than the fencing industry. But the contractors have a lot of the same commonalities that we find on the fence side. And also, they don't really have there's fewer places out there that specialize just specifically in decking and railing. You have a lot of competition out there of ours. They have the whole house, the roofing, the siding, whatever it is. And so for a deck contractor, there's just really not a place for them to go to get specific expertise help or the higher end differentiating products, or really to have a contact base where they can call and get the story. A lot of times, if you're in line at a lumber yard, it'll be, the guy in front of you is buying windows and doors, and then you step up and I need brown decking, and they say, cool, here it is. This is what we have, and drive around back and pick it up. And the next guy's ordering roofing shingles and so on and so forth. So with us, there's a very specific focus here, so you get a different level of service.
I think that's really cool. I mean, we're all companies that we meet every day are always looking to diversify. Some are happy where they are, some want to expand, and they take on a new line. We've done it. We've taken on new lines, and they don't always work out, right? Because especially a big company like Master Halco that's making this big push into something new, it's unique and it takes a lot of work. Can you share some of the ways that Master Halco has implemented this strategy to get to this new customer base?
In a lot of ways, it's the same as what we've done for over 50 years. It's not new to us to seek out contractors. It's a little new to call on contractors and introduce yourself as Master Halco, and they kind of shake their head, not quite sure. So that's been a new hurdle over the last year or so, especially up in our region, making sure that people understand our name. But there's a lot of branding and brand recognition that's kind of developed over the last few years as a focus of ours to kind of get our name out there a little bit more, get our logo out there a little bit more. We're very specific on where it is and kind of how we promote it. So that's been a good thing. But even more specifically, we make sure that we have OSAs out in the field, outside sales reps in the field, in the market every day. So where a lot of our competition may not have that kind of representation, we'll be on job sites. We're going, I don't want to say door to door, but I have gone door to door. You look up some of these deck contractors, and a lot of them have their truck, their trailer, their crew, and they go, right? And our job is to put material on the job site. So their office address is their home address. All right, I'm coming.
Yep.
So if that's the case, that's where I'll meet you, and I'll meet you there. I'll meet you on the job site. If you have a problem, we're coming out there. We're partnering with our reps. I think to a significantly higher level than what you typically see out there.
And so Master Halco, they have a similar profile to Sherwood in one sense, not to say that they're the same type of company, but in the sense that they're known as one of the best in this thing, fencing and railing, and they're trying to get into this other thing, which I would assume even your current customer base probably doesn't even give you full mind share of. Walk me through. You have this new product line. Like, how do you get this expertise that you've established as authoritative subject matter experts on the railing side to kind of transcend into the decking side?
It's interesting. First of all, there's a huge focus on training. I mean, we have leaned on our partners significantly to get our teams trained. It's something I focus on daily, is to get out there and give these guys different different tools and just kind of go through our program and why we put it together the way we put it together. But so the training aspect of things can't be overstated. That's something that we do all the time. But I guess if you look at our fence contractors, it's pretty interesting how many times I can walk in and I just say, hey, I've been selling a lot of railing to a lot of fence contractors, but I noticed you guys haven't bought any. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the answer of, well, we're not really sure where to go get it or who to talk to. So we pass on the opportunities. And so then it's a product training and get them the samples, get them the literature, get them armed with what they need to go to market. And then in-person trainings, I'll meet you in the field. I'll help you install it the first time out. And once they do it, then they know they have the resource and they're comfortable with it. They go off and running. I mean, fence and railing is not this big leap to go from one to the other. Fence to decking, slightly different story.
For sure.
That's where really kind of developing a new contractor base comes into play. And it's a different, as many similarities as they have, the deck contractor is different. A lot of times your fence contractor or salesman who's going to come to the house, they're going to walk the perimeter. They're outside. It's quick. If it's cold, it's cold. I mean, they're in and out kind of. And then when they're installing, they're outside, right? They're in the backyard. They're in the back behind the shed, putting up fence. Where the decking contractor, we're attaching to the house. We're probably sitting down at your kitchen table going over the full scope of the project and picking out all the pieces and parts. And it's a different approach. It's a different set of skills that they have. And so it's been fun to partner with those guys.
So for that to work with the different set of skills for the decking, do you need new people, different people? Is the same people, just new training? Walk us through that.
So obviously we have about 1,200 people across the country just dedicated to taking care of our contractor base. But we quickly realized that we could use some expertise, and sometimes you got to go out there and you got to buy it. We put about another 50 people in strategic positions across the country, whether that be decking and railing specific OSAs who have had, who come with years of industry knowledge and experience and background, or people in leadership positions like myself who are given all the resources and time to go out there, learn it all, bring it back, and specifically in charge of building this a way that makes sense and making sure our people are there. But it's been a big investment.
Understood. So let me ask this question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You get into a new space, and this is a question that I have too. I felt as well, so I'm interested to hear your opinion. You get into a new space, you probably have very solid vendor relations on the railing and the fencing side. You've cultivated them over, decades. Now you come in and you're trying to find the right partners for this new product. Can you talk a little bit about where you feel Master Halco is either misunderstood or the vendor doesn't truly understand? For any vendor that might be out there thinking like, man, how do I penetrate Master Halco? What's important to you when you're making these types of selections?
There's across the country, there's people that are in different positions to kind of gauge our best partnerships and our best avenues. Specifically in our region, in developing the program I put together here in New England and covering my Region 10, it's all about the actual companies that we're dealing with and the people, the actual relationships. I mean, Master Halco is big, and it doesn't take a lot of convincing when I'm talking to new partners or vendors to say, hey, we're 70. It's not every day that a 70 location company comes to the table and says, hey, we want to partner up. So that's kind of an easy sell on my seat. But we're customers in that aspect just the same, right? So whoever can partner with us and show us kind of give us some of the guidance, but also take care of us it's huge. And specifically with our partnership with you guys, I mean, we had a really successful year, and actually we were invited to the golf outing, which was great. But I got a chance to really see kind of the backbone and the makeup of your company and the history of you guys. And I mean, I'm sure everybody's very thankful and happy to do business with you guys, but I left that and to play golf. But I left that outing and that meeting kind of with a whole new sense of like, wow, this is a company that we like. This is a company that's got the same kind of values that Master Halco does, and some of the stuff where you guys are giving back and the donations and stuff that Sherwood Lumber makes. I mean, that aligns with us. We do Master Halco gives back every year. We've donated over $1 million back to local and national charities across the country over the last 4 years. So,
what causes is Master Halco most passionate about?
so I probably won't name specifics. I know that like the Ronald McDonald or St. Jude, those are big ones. But we leave it up to our branches. We
That's
give our
great.
branches, all 70 locations get to pick where however much money their specific branch generates, they can pick. So there's a lot of local charities that you and I aren't even aware of out across the country that they choose because maybe somebody in the branch has a tie to it or has gone through some sort of life experience and this charity has helped out. So it's a pretty diverse selection, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
We have Michael's father, our CEO, has this thing that he says probably once to 3 times a year, which is, what's the role of the doctor? The doctor's role is to save lives. What's the role of the lawyer? The lawyer's role is to enforce and make sure justice prevails. And then he asks the question, what's the role of the businessman? And the businessman's goal is to give back to the community that helps him grow. And so, the idea of the most beautiful souls are those who left the fire and came back with water for those still in it. It's like such a beautiful thought that I think even our employees, I'm sure your employees too, just get like passionate about, because it's nice to be involved in something bigger than yourself. That's a really nice thing to hear. Is there anything else that you want to opine on in terms of the philanthropic deeds that Master Halco does?
Master Halco is branded, and we put it out there a lot that we're American built or Canadian built because we have branches up in Canada as well, and it's something we're really proud of to say that we have these 1,200 or so employees, and that we're in these local markets, but we're part of the communities through our employees, right? We're creating the opportunity and just being able to provide that many people with the opportunity of employment and working and then giving back to their communities. It's a huge thing that we talk about often.
Very cool. Congrats to you. Congrats to the organization. It's a great thing. We love to see that in the industry of giving back.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot about Master Halco and their strategy. Tell me a little bit more about your role, what you do every day, and what your role, what you oversee.
So at my day to day and week to week, it's communication. I mean, I clearly can't be in Maine and Cleveland and New York and Boston all in the same week, and they're all equally important. So the strength of your team is everything. So it's a pretty rigid schedule, but try to talk to all of our outside reps every week, if not multiple times a week. Partner with branch managers the same, making sure that the vision is communicated, making sure that they understand kind of the why behind the what. And same thing with our outside teams. I mean, we're bringing on a large value dollar amount of new inventory that, I mean, a deck board does not handle like a bundle of pipe.
Yep.
So it's certainly a little bit of a learning curve, and so we practice that and talk about that all the time. But yeah, my time is spent, if it's not giving the vision of how we're going to go to market and where this thing goes, it's also focused on just developing the sales skills of our sales team, making sure that the way that we go to market through each of them aligns with Master Halco's focus.
So you have 6 branches in your territory, 6 branch managers, I assume, and then how many salespeople within those?
13 total.
Very cool.
So we have some that are focused on all products. We have some that are specifically focused on the decking and railing industry and growing that. But whether or not we have a designated person, I mean, the focus is on the decking and railing growth throughout the region. And and also just the way that we approach it, right? I mean, there's a big difference between contacting somebody and saying, "Hey, I want to sell you material," versus, "Hey, I want to understand your business and I want to understand if there's a fit where we can partner up and I can help you be more successful." And that's a key thing that we focus on. That second approach is really where we want to be. And it's hard to get there sometimes. A lot of times you'll call a new contractor and it's, well, what's my price? Right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, sure, of
that's
course.
the constant, that's the roadblock, right? In sales. Well, what's my price? Can you save me money? And as we all know, and you guys do it with the Sherwood trucks driving down the road that I see, your service is a huge value and not just the cost of material, right? If you're just racing to the bottom line all the time, there's a good chance that the service end of it behind it is not going to be as strong.
You get
So
you get what you pay. You get what you pay for, right?
you get what you pay for. Yeah, 100%. And so that's a big focus of ours, making sure that we're very customer centric in that approach. It's all about partnerships. That's I always say we don't have customers, we have partners. And when I talk to our inside sales team, I say, listen, you got to act like you've got a draw hats next to you. And when that phone rings and that caller ID pops up, reach up, put that guy's hat on, and you're an extension of his business until that task is done. It's important.
So within Master Halco, there are other regionals like you that are around the country. Is that how
Yeah.
and how often are you connecting with them to strategize and learn and share best practices, et cetera?
So probably once a quarter we'll have the whole team together, but we have a very north versus south competition brewing.
All right.
So I coordinate with the guys on the northern half of the company pretty often to make sure we're streamlining our efforts out to the field. So yeah, we're gaining. The south kind of got a head start. They got into it a year or two ahead of us to make, they kind of tested the waters, and we're closing that gap quickly.
They also don't have the same seasonality as you. I think they get a little extra time to play each year. So you guys have to do a little bit more the Q2, Q3 than they do to make that gap close. But I think it should be pointed out that when you do beat them, that's a more impressive gain as you probably have less time overall to sell.
Yeah. Well, it's the mindset, right? I mean, if you look at it and you go, I have 12 months and I 12 months to sell. I mean, maybe there's a little less of a sense of urgency. I mean, if you travel and you talk to some of the guys around, I mean, there's no, I have to have this done by the end of October or the ground's frozen. That doesn't exist down south in some places, although they apparently got snow this year, but still. Yeah, our guys are full court press the whole year because you never know when the weather is going to lock in. So I think that actually plays to our advantage.
Speaking of roadblocks, what challenges are you seeing just industry specific, and how is Master Halco thinking about tackling them proactively?
At least up in my region, our biggest roadblock is just our notoriety to start with. That's our biggest challenge. Once people understand who we are and what we're trying to do, I mean, the door swings wide open. But at first, I mean, you could be an insurance salesman. I mean, it's that
100%.
drastic.
I will say I have begun receiving the text messages from Master Halco.
Yeah.
I get like a message or two every week just telling me about what's going on at Master Halco. Besides that, anything else that you guys are doing to get your name out there?
It's interesting, actually. That was a big part of an initiative over the last year. Is we've opened up texting to all of our branches. So now, when you have contractors in the field, instead of them having to, compose an email on the fly, they can talk to text and send a text to our branches, which is seen by everybody. I think our average response time is under 5 minutes to get back to somebody when they operate through that avenue. So that was a big advancement we've made this year. And what that is actually capable of doing is we're only scratching the surface. There's going to be a lot of things that come from that and progressive when we get more people kind of signed up and we get the branches used to it, and it really is rolling full steam. I mean, you're talking about hopefully getting updates similar to that when you drop your car off for service. Like, hey, it's inside, it's here, it's ready, it's staged, it's ready to go. So a lot of cool stuff on the texting side for sure.
We did something at my last company where once we had the contractor base large enough, they would get random little texts of encouragement like, hey, just recognize you placed your 50th order. Here's a Starbucks gift card on us. Thanks for being a customer. Little thoughtful things that like hit your customer up that they would never expect. That's just like a random act of kindness that I think goes a long way. Once you get the infrastructure stood up, I think there's lots of fun things you can do with that. All right.
Yeah.
So Mikey, if you're okay, I think it's time maybe move to some segments.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one more question.
Please.
Learn about Marshall. So, how long have you been in this position, the regional for?
About a year and a half.
You're gonna have to. Can you tell us about the transition? What your old position was, and transitioning into this position, how it's been? There's a lot of people. A lot of our listeners are in. Maybe they're in a sales position, looking to move up in their organization. Maybe just talk about how you were able to move up in Master Halco and just the transition it's been to learn that process.
So there's two specific things that I would say have contributed. One, I've always been told that you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And so there's been just like a constant, I don't want like kind of like an outreach to take on different tasks and always push myself to grow and not be content with my current role. Always be good. You got to be good at your current role, right? I always say that, I mean, you don't drop anything. Nothing falls through the cracks because your reliability is critical, especially when you're dealing with contractors and they're responsible for their teams and putting food on the table for their families. We can't really be messing up. So there's a big focus on that. But moving from being successful, just being the point of contact and being the lead sales guy and doing that, to move into leadership was interesting. I've coached basketball teams and stuff like that, so kind of giving direction and waving the pom pom, so to speak. That kind of comes naturally. I bring a lot of energy to what I do, but in the interview process to get this role, my senior VP actually said to me, it was one of the last things he said. He goes, "If at the end of the year you sold more decks than everybody else, you failed, because it's not about what I can sell. I've already proven for 5 years that I can get out there and sell the product, but it's the strength of your team, right?" So it was like an instant light switch where I'm only as good as the people around me, the team, if they understand the vision, and instantly it goes from everything that I can do to what can we do together? How do we collaborate so that you're comfortable with it, and bringing people along with you. And that's probably the biggest thing that I focus on is making sure that the team feels empowered.
Great. Can you give us a little more insight of how some things you've learned of how to be a better coach and a better leader?
One of the hardest things to do, I'll say, is the best thing you can do is make a joint sales call, right? You go out there and you see everything live as it's happening. And in that moment, the absolute hardest thing to do is shut up. As a leader, and as a sales guy at heart, I mean, you get in those one-on-ones and it starts going good, and all you want to do is just talk over the guy, over your guy. And so it's actually a big focus. We come up with cues before we go in, like, I'm going to click my pen if I want to interject, and then you let me talk. And if I get asked a question specifically, I'll like shake my head and nod and then just look to my right and let my sales guy answer the question, because it's his meeting, it's his customer. And that's not easy. That's something you got to practice, but that's critical.
Amen. I mean, and you're certainly empowering your people. I guess one last follow-up question on that for those Master Halco employees that might be listening to this down the road. What should they be thinking about if they want to follow a similar trajectory as you followed at your career there at Master Halco?
First, I don't think there's any time better than now. I mean, with what we're trying to do to grow and dive into this industry, I mean, the bulk of our employee base was used to build our fence company into doing over $1 billion, right? So if the goal is to do that on the decking and railing side, there's a good chance we're going to be adding to that number and bringing in the right people. So just get comfortable being uncomfortable is probably the biggest thing I can tell everybody, right? Don't be content. Always push the boundaries a little bit and put yourself out there, because it's the best way to learn.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that information. We'll move over to segments now.
So we have a couple of segments. All are double entendres based on construction or lumber. First segment is called Saw It Coming, homage to sawing lumber. It's about future predictions. I just want to get your take on where certain things are headed. I'll start by asking, in terms of the decking and fencing industry, where are we heading over the next 5 to 10 years? What changes? What stays the same?
It's interesting. So in the Northeast specifically, we have more product availability and options probably than anywhere else. But I think that when you see some of these innovations, they're really focused on production. They're focused on speed, and I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch. I mean, you don't even need to read a tape measure anymore. I mean, there's tools and pieces and parts that they put in place that make that make the process very streamlined. So I think that'll be interesting to see it happen.
How do you think AI and technology will impact the building materials industry?
Well, I actually just talked to a contractor yesterday who feeds absolutely all of his information into ChatGPT as he goes. You know, how long it took him to drive to the job site, drive home, unpack, do the trailer, how many guys, how many hours, did it rain, what they get done, what it costs. And so like an AI like chat will kind of log all of that information. And then when it comes time to doing an estimate, it'll say, well, we're estimated so many days worth of rain in this year. And so take that into account of lost production and all the things that contribute to it, and spit out like, hey, you got to kind of carry this overhead, which is otherwise, I mean, if you don't have that, you need a decade in the industry before you can learn that sort of thing. And I actually saw something online the other day, and it's actually a software that I watched kind of develop. And years ago, I almost got into selling it before Master Halco. And it's basically augmented reality. So you put on the glasses and it will just kind of display the blueprint of what you need to build, but in this actual space. I mean, at that point, you're connecting the dots. It's so stuff like that is going to be, that I think that's going to make big strides.
For sure. I agree, and there's going to be more and more to come. It's pretty cool that guy's how he's using ChatGPT.
Honestly, I was not expecting that to be the answer, but what a easy thought, right? That you just think of more people would come to that conclusion, but 100% true.
Make them more efficient,
right? Yeah,
and they got their assistant basically telling them all the information.
And it's the AI in that regard. I mean, that's like the best version of yourself, right? You're not tired. You're not missing the cup of coffee. It's not late. ChatGPT didn't just work 70 hours, and you're just talking to it, and it's just feeding you the best information that it can based off of what you've put into it. It's pretty remarkable.
Next segment, material moments, personal stories in business. A defining moment in your career, good or bad, that shaped the way you do business today.
I have to go back to what my VP said to me about, if you've sold the most decks in a year, that you failed. And it completely just changed everything that I had done to that point. I mean, I sold cars, I sold car repairs, I sold insurance, I sold fence, I sold electronics. I mean, you name it, I've been in that role, and it was always all about my number and my performance and everything that I can control. And then in one line, he just completely turned that upside down. And all of a sudden, it's about everything else and everything I can do for everybody else. And it's been a lot of fun to learn and sharpen those skills. And I think the results are proving that it's successful. But that was a huge moment for sure.
Can you share a story in your personal career that just left you feeling with like a real sense of pride?
So actually, back in December, we did a leadership meeting, and we had about 170 people gather. And my head's down. I'm working. I'm busy, and I get asked to, hey, can you kind of talk to everybody about just how you foster team engagement, the importance of sales meetings, and I said, yeah, sure, I could do that. It's no problem. And now the request came about a week and a half before the meeting, right? And up until that point, I really hadn't looked too close at the meeting and what it was going to be. And so I'm packing up and I'm getting ready to go. And I had made a presentation that I felt good about. And I was like, let me just look up the itinerary and see what's going on. And I realized, okay, well, there's 170 leaders. It's branch managers and up, all the regional managers, regional sales managers, all the guys from HQ. And I'm like, okay, I got to talk to all these guys. And then I looked up the room that I was going to be in. And, to jump into something like this or to sit at a conference table or in a cafe and talk to guys and train them up, that's nothing. But I was in the Lincoln Ballroom and there's these huge chandeliers and I just saw the room and I was like, all right, I have to completely change this entire presentation. And I did. I spent the next few days actually there. My presentation wasn't until Thursday, so I ripped it apart. I put it all back together. But to stand up there in front of guys that had a major hand in building this company to the $1 billion in sales that they did, and have them listening and buying in and respecting what I was putting out there, that was a great feeling. And at one point we had the team engaged. Everybody kind of broke into groups. And I remember just walking around the room and seeing the influence that I had just had on this group of really talented people. And that was pretty impressive. That was awesome.
I'm sure that your leadership team that may have known you intimately or not so intimately probably also felt a feeling of pride that here you are, this guy that's come up from, at the lower levels of the organization that feels the vision and values that can express it to the team in a way that leadership can understand is probably like a feeling of pride up and down the value. Well done. Our last segment. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was pretty cool to do that.
Our last segment is quick cuts, just this rapid fire questioning, quick answers, but just trying to get your take on some things. First question: if you weren't in building materials, where would you be?
I'd probably own a small car dealership. I had so much fun. I ran a used car dealership for a number of years, and those people, those transactions, they're different every single day. And give me a small place with like a 2-car garage and 15 cars out front, and I'll rock and roll all day.
That's amazing. I love that answer. One piece of sales advice you live by?
A no is better than a maybe.
Yeah,
I'll take a no all day.
Biggest misconception about fencing or decking?
That it's a DIY job. I challenge anybody to go outside. If you need any convincing, go dig one hole and you will call somebody instantly.
And lastly, best city for outdoor living space?
City is tough. Come to Cheshire. Come hang out in my yard. We got the deck and the pool and the grill, and there's hardly a bad season to get out there. It's a little frozen now, but I think maybe New England in general kind of lets you experience all the different things that people build into those spaces. So I'll take New England all day.
Well, Marshall, we appreciate your time. We learned a lot about you, a lot about Master Halco, a lot about what you guys are doing. Can't thank you enough as a customer, and I just want to really say thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, this was excellent, guys. I really appreciate it, and just to have the time to kind of get Master Halco's name out there a little bit is great. To be recognized as a partner with Sherwood Lumber is awesome. We're very proud of it. And thanks for everything. This has been a lot of fun.
Really appreciate it. Thank you again for joining.
Yes, sir.
So there you have it. Marshall Sampietro, Master Halco, growing company. I love the fact there's talks on the philanthropic nature of the overall company. I love the fact that the advice of a no is better than a maybe, I think, is probably one of the best answers to that question we've had. Mikey, overall, what did you think?
I thought it was great. What I really like to learn about Master Halco, the company, is how they're diversifying to new product line and how they've done it. It's not easy to get into something new. We've done it. We've tried in the past. We're having success now. But doing it is a whole new animal. It's almost like a new business within an organization. To see their success and to see how they've done it, very interesting, great thing to learn.
Well, Marshall, Master Halco, Sherwood Lumber's rooting for you. You guys have done a great job as a customer of ours so far, so thank you. And if you like our content, please like and subscribe. Next week, we meet with Steve Swinney, CEO of Kodiak Building Products, and he'll talk to us all about what's made their company so successful.
A growing company, and we look forward to seeing it. Thank you so much.